Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordy and Glory video, and today guys we're going to be taking a look at the new command squad and what I learned from my first game using one. Now I recently did a battle report using the new guard leaked codex, and don't worry if you missed it, I'll have a link at the end of this episode to that battle report. And within that game I used one of the new command squads, and what I want to do today is go over my first impressions of the new unit and compare it to how the old command squad used to work. Now, the first thing to mention, which is really important, is that command squads and officers have now been merged together into one unit, just like they used to be in previous editions. Now, what's also important to note is that the command squad has its own datasheet now, and within that datasheet, it's made up of an officer and 4 veterans, and you can give those veterans different supporting equipment. Now, one exception to this is the Cadian Castellan. He is like an 8th edition officer. He's running around without a command squad, being a bit of a lone wolf. But for your platoon commanders, they're now back with their command squads. Now, one of the first things that I noticed when I had my command squad and my officer all linked together was how much more durable the unit felt. I no longer worried about my officer getting sniped out anywhere near as much. I mean, at the end of the day, the officer himself has got 4 wounds, and then he also has an additional 4 wounds thanks to the 4 veterans that are supporting him. So I really wasn't as concerned about my opponent coming and killing them. The other thing to note is that at the end of the day, the officer in the command squad is, as I said, like a platoon commander. He can only issue 1 order. So I wasn't that bothered if my opponent was able to kill one of my command squads with an officer, because it just meant that I only lost 1 order. So what I found was that command squads felt really durable, and you felt like you could take a few risks with them, because if the enemy managed to plink some shots at them, it didn't really matter because you had the wounds to absorb it. And speaking of absorbing damage, they felt a lot tougher in general, and a big part of that was I took the medic inside my command squad, and the medic gives the unit a 5+ feel no pain. Now, there was one turn where my opponent made me fail 3 saves on my command squad, and I just made 3 feel no pains. And it was just, again, really noticeable how much more durable the squad felt. If that had been a platoon commander on his own back in 8th edition, back, with the 8th edition codex, even in early 9th edition, I would have felt, 3 wounds dead, he's probably dead. Do you know what I mean? That would have been it. He would have failed 3 armor saves and just died. But now, because he had his guys around him, even if I failed all 3 of my armor saves and then failed all 3 of my feel no pains, it didn't matter. The officer, the most important guy, was still going to be able to run around, and I'd probably, be able to run around with a Voxcaster with him still. So they just felt so much more durable, and that was a bare bones command squad. If I was to start adding in things like Ogrim bodyguards, which bring the overall toughness of the squad up to 5, it would just start getting really durable. You can then start layering on more advisors. You can start layering on some relics and stuff as well, which makes them even more durable. I know it sounds crazy, but I genuinely think there is a build out there where you'll be able to make a hyper durable command squad that people are going to try and charge in, and they're just going to bounce off. And it's going to be a little bit of a wall unit, a bit of a tank unit. And that's really cool to see. But yeah, that was the main thing that really stuck out to me, was just how much more durable they felt. Now, there's loads of other really cool things and great first impressions that I got from the new command squad. And overall, I just want to say I really loved the unit. We've kind of dived straight into some of the specific detail, but I just want to take a step back now and just zoom out a little bit, look at the big picture. When I was moving the unit around on the battlefield, it just felt so right. I had a classic Cadian command squad that I put together from, it was using the old 2003 models. They were all metal. I had my old medic, my old banner, my old Vox guy, my old lieutenant with the chainsword and the bolt pistol, and it just looked so right, and it felt so right on the battlefield. So no matter what the tactical implications might be, let me just tell you, command squads being a proper unit with their officer again just is exactly the right way it should be, and it just felt so much more fun on the battlefield. But now we've taken that moment to see the big picture, let's dive straight back into the nitty-gritty detail. I know that's what you guys love. Now, one thing that really took me by surprise was the fact that the command squad only having 1 order actually tended to be enough. Maybe it's just because over the course of Nephilim, I've got used to using platoon commanders with command squads rather than having company commanders running around. Maybe it's because orders now splash out a bit more. Maybe it's because the new guard orders tend to be, well, it's take aim and move, and the other ones seem like just tools you have in the toolbox when you need them, but you don't really need them all that often. But to me, it was so surprising how one order felt enough. What I found really surprising was how the command squad was like 80 points and could only do one order. But the Castellan was like 40 points and he was a lone officer and he could do 2 orders. And I really, when I was building this and putting it together, I thought, oh, it feels kind of wrong paying more points for an officer that can do less orders. But the fact that this officer in the command squad has a 24-inch range for orders thanks to his Voxcaster, that you can give it a relic, so the Voxcaster actually has unlimited range with the relic, the Clarion Proclamatus. You've got to say it like that every single time. Trust me, it just has to be done. But the fact that the command squad could receive so many more useful buffs with things like the reroll ones to wound banner, that was really, really good. For those that don't know, regimental standards now give out a reroll ones to wound for core units within 6 inches. You combine that with the Castellan, and suddenly it was like, oh, I shouldn't be deciding which of these officers I should be taking. I want to be taking both all the time. You want a command squad and a Castellan because they complement each other really, really well. And between the two of them, they do 3 orders, and that's more than enough. And one of those orders can be done really far across the battlefield if it needs to be done. So I found that the one order was absolutely fine with the way the order splashed out. And I actually found that when I was using the 2 units next to each other, the Castellan and the command squad, I found the Voxcaster range was actually more important for me to be able to get my orders where I needed them than having a second order in a smaller 6-inch bubble. And that flexibility is really what shined through when I was using the command squad. That's really what jumped out at me. And it made me realize that the Castellan's main advantage is that he's a lone officer and he's cheaper and he can do 2 orders and you can make him do different kinds of orders, and that's great. But the command squad has also a huge amount of flexibility and provides a different source of buffs on the battlefield. You still get the order. That's great. That's the main reason you're taking him. But having the reroll ones to hit banner is fantastic. Having the almost unlimited range on the Voxcasters is great. I actually found that the Clarion Proclamatus wasn't all that useful because I was trying to take inflexible commands, so I was staying within 24 inches anyway. Having a unit that can just be a bit tougher, that you can have a bit more balls with, and if it dies, it doesn't matter too much. You've got other officers that can pick up the slack. And I just found like having a unit that you could really build to be very, very durable was awesome. And thinking about how that would Ogun Bodyguard, like I said, make a huge difference. Or maybe you want something that sits back and supports your aircraft and your artillery. Okay, well, you've got officers of the fleets and you've got massive ordnance. Maybe you want a psyker. The command squad might be more expensive, but what you're paying for is a unit that can kind of do it all. It can give out some form of rerolls. It can give out orders. It can be a bit of a combat unit if you need it to be. Give everyone a chainsaw. One of your veterans can take a power fist or a power sword. The officer can take a power sword. You just put an Ogun Bodyguard in there. Suddenly you've got a unit running around with, over a dozen attacks. A lot of them power attacks, and it's actually doing a lot of damage. Or you have it as a cheap buffing unit. It can do everything from sit back and buff nearly every kind of unit in your army with reroll auras and orders and artillery and flyers. Or you can have something that can push up the board, get in your opponent's face, and actually be an aggressive unit. It can do everything in between that as well. And so that is what really, really shined out to me. The command squad is almost a blank slate, and you can tailor it to be exactly what you want it to be. But whatever you tailor it for, as long as you've got a game plan in mind, it will be really, really useful. I just used a bare bones one, and I'm already thinking about all the different ways that I want to start running this unit. However, with that flexibility, with all those different buffs that you can stack onto this unit, you really have to watch out for the points cost. It is phenomenally easy to spend over 200 points on a command squad. The fact that it comes in at 80 points base is a real points increase. I mean, at the end of the day, in 8th edition, for a platoon commander and a command squad, you used to pay 50 points. Now you're paying 80. And yeah, that unit can do a lot more. The Voxcaster range is much better. The reroll ones aura is much better. The medic actually does something. Now, yeah, you're paying for all these buffs, but you're paying for them. And so what I would say is that the command squad is a great unit, but it's very easy to get sucked into paying, what, 300 points for one. I mean, it would be 80 points for the base command squad. You put 3 advisors in there, they're all about sort of 30, 40 points. You're already looking at 200 points. You slap an ogre and bodyguard in there, you're looking at a 250 point unit. And it's a very, very good unit that can do anything, but it's a 250 point unit. What would you rather have, a command squad or a Rogal Dawn? Well, the Rogal Dawn's probably going to do more damage. So I think that is the big trap with command squads. You're going to want to absolutely turbo stack them. But I think unless you're playing a narrative game with higher points values, you're going to want to pick an advisor. You're going to want to pick a role that your command squad can do. And I also seriously doubt that you're going to take more than 1 or 2 of them. Seriously doubt it, because again, if you take 3 command squads, you're just bare bones. You're looking at 240 points. So the command squad is a fantastic unit, but you are paying a premium for those points. Realistically, I think they need to be a bit cheaper. 80 points seemed kind of expensive, especially for a bare bones one. I feel like it really should be more like 60 or 70 points. That's really what I feel like it should be. But it's still a good unit at 80 points, and we'll just have to see what it actually comes in at when the final codex drops. So that's all we've got time for today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Are you really excited for having the new command squad back? Or do you think that realistically, you're probably going to be running more of those Lone Wolf Castellans? You can't quite afford the premium of the command squad. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider giving it a like. And if you want to make sure you never miss an episode, smash that subscribe button like it's your big titty Eldar girlfriend. If you've really enjoyed today's video and you want to go the extra mile when it comes to supporting the channel, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. It's thanks to the generous support of my channel members and of my Patreons that I'm able to do this gig full time now and really get into the Imperial Guard even more so than I ever have done in the past. One of the advantages of becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter is you gain access to the Mordy and Glory Discord, amongst many, many other perks. The Discord is a really active community. We've got almost 600 active members in there at the moment, and I mean active members. There's always someone to chat with, whether it be about painting, memes, tactics, leaks, anything. And it's not just guard stuff as well. Obviously, there's a really core guard community in there, but we've started having loads of other players come in as well, and it's really started to give a lot of variety and unique perspectives to the community. So it just feels really, really good. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, sounds like fun to you, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter and joining us in the Discord. And I just want to take a moment now to say a big thank you to our latest channel members. So thank you to Lewis Cleveland, Lucas, James Roberts, Matt Small, It's For My, David Ewing, Travis McHenry, Michael Wolf, Matt Triplet, Donny Rose, 2310 Luke, James Bowen, Will K, Lambo UK, Night of Dawn, Danimation, Fireside Stories, Troy Jernigan, Timmer 1996, Robbie Death Spectre, Just Monica, and Ree Dick. Thank you guys for all of your support. Thank you. Doing your part. Of course, I want to say a big thank you and a shout out to the latest Patreons as well. So thank you to Andrew, Anthony, Robert, Fool's Fate, Owen, Malice in Wonderland, Siri, James Hughes, Stephen Page, Matty B, Sean Mulligan, and Bon Vert. Thank you guys for your ongoing Patreon support. Last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the War Masters, the people that have truly gone above and beyond the Call of Duty when it comes to supporting the channel. And those people that I am truly, truly grateful to. So a massive thank you and an 07 down in the comment section for Bon Vert, Navy Veteran, Bill French, Ross Miller, Tekwal, Alex Dengal, John Stubbs, Nicholas Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, Diesel Fox, Tom Sutton, and August Varney. Thank you guys for being War Masters. Thank you for being top tier Patreon supporters. I hope you've all enjoyed today's video. If you have, thank you for watching. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.